Firstly, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all today. And I was going to enjoy myself here being with you, because when Riaz spoke to me, I said the time was no problem. Unfortunately, my Prime Minister is in China, and as a result, the normal cabinet meeting that has got to be held at 10 is being brought forward to 9:30. So I'll have to rush it through and just give the ideas of what is going on in Sri Lanka. On behalf of the government of Sri Lanka and my finance minister in particular, may I welcome you all to our beautiful country and wish you a successful conference here and happy, productive personal stay as well. Formally, from my side, welcome to Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, 20th International Tax Finance Conference in Sri Lanka. I'm aware that Bombay Chartered Accountants Society has more than 9,000 members, and as Chetan just mentioned, 68 years in existence, and at present is well-respected leading organization promoting quality service excellence in profession of chartered accountancy. As your vision statement sets out, you're known as a catalyst for bringing about better and more effective government policies and laws, and for clean and efficient administration and governance. This is where I see some clear areas of cooperation, synergies between our two nations, your society in particular, and I will cover this aspect shortly. I want to briefly mention at this moment, 1.5 years ago when we inherited the economy, we did inherit a difficult economy. But we never thought it would be as difficult as what it is. And like me, being one of you fellow accountants, I was saddled with the aspect of able to resurrect Sri Lanka from its dire straits. And today, if I talk in accounting languages, what if your revenue is less than the debt amortization? Forget the other expenditure. What if you're looking at your revenues drastically going down, 10.4% of GDP, as opposed to in 2005, we having 17%. If your salary bill is 640 billion, I'm talking Sri Lankan rupees, and your pensions are 230 billion, your transfer to households is 382 billion, and your debt servicing is 1,275, and if your revenue is 1,500, what the hell can you do as accountant? Now this is what we are faced at the moment. These are the accounts that my good friend Riaz qualifies, puts a stamp and says, yes, the entities are doing well, and today together we have got to get this economy moving. Why I just mentioned that was because one of the biggest, one of the revenue pillars in Sri Lanka is the inland revenue, and one of the biggest obstacles is my good friend who tax plans. So walking up, Chetan said that we have expertism in this area. So even before ITCA comes, I think we can engage them to take the challenge on that is posed by my Sri Lankan colleagues. So I want to briefly enlighten you on some important tax and fiscal changes we have brought in with the November 2015 budget, which was the first official budget that we presented, to encourage foreign investments. Tax exemptions for new investments will be granted under the New Investment Act with the direct supervision of the Finance Ministry to make process smooth and efficient. Hitherto, it has been the Board of Investments, but over the passage of times, there has been distortions that are there, and as a result, we have basically looked at centralizing it to the Finance Ministry to be able to give, because the final point of giving that exemption is in the hands of the Inland Revenue Department. So as it comes under the Finance Ministry, we have centralized it there. All we want to do is also to make decisions quick, because Sri Lanka is not the only girl on the beach when it comes to investments. So we need to lure and encourage the investors into Sri Lanka. We are very appreciative of Prime Minister Modi, who visited us almost about 8-9 months ago. And at that visit, the sense of bondage that basically grew between our two countries, I thought we'll be the 30th state of India. But why I put the challenge is I want the Indians, our good friends, our neighbors, and friends at a need, when we are at need, you all must come and take economic advantage of what is on. I mean, you compare with some of the Asian giants that are there, I don't want to mention by name, but they come, they have deep pockets, and when they say they start yesterday or tomorrow. The Indians come and they say they'll start yesterday, and they'll start 6 months to think about it. So I guess you need to spur and say the investment opportunity that is in Sri Lanka is far better than one of the 29 states that are there in India. So this is where the advantage that is there between the two countries having a free trade agreement. Sri Lanka is a tiny little country which has 25 million people. Critical mass is like the size of Pondicherry maybe for you all. But you all have an opportunity. While the 1.1 billion market is certainly an advantage for us, and I'm sure Riaz and all of us are eager to take advantage of the Indian market as well. You all should take advantage of the production on the productive side, on the industry side, on the agriculture side, and work together. There is no threat. Let's together take the region on. That's the problem, because we are a nation in poverty, in an ocean of prosperity. And we need to work together in an Indian-led production base in our region. So this is what I call upon. I am the finance minister of Sri Lanka, not of India. But sometimes I tell my good friend, our finance minister, Mr. Jaitli, that certainly we together, competing the region would be far better than competing one another. And that is what I call upon professionals such as you to do that. And to this, in the next month, we'll be opening our residency visa system, where anybody who comes and deposits $300,000, we don't ask from where they came, and you can have a 10-year residency. This is there for the Indians before the September 30th date comes in. You all are free. So you could see that that's a discussion which is done between the finance minister there and here, and what is remnant and surplus there we'll take with gladness. So these are the areas which we see. You can see we have gone into the India itself because we see a huge potential that is there. I was the trade minister before in 2002 when we opened the Indo-Lanka agreement to you at a time when we were exporting 1:10. Every 10 imports that come in, we export 1. When we left, it was every 5 imports that came in, every 1 export that went in, 5 imports only came in. So you could see the parity reduce and we had a greater cooperation together. And that's what I want to see in the next couple of years. The current Exchange Control Act number 24 of 1953 will be repealed. And a new act named Foreign Exchange Management Act is going to be introduced to facilitate foreign investments. Similarly, the proposed specific investment account, which was there previous to get investments, will be done away, and any account can be used so that we are facilitating quicker investments to come into Sri Lanka and take advantage of that. No criminal action will be taken against any person making inward remittance of monies held outside Sri Lanka through the banking channels, except where the proceeds are result of terrorism, drugs, human trafficking, and corruption. As you would see, we are maintaining a strict fiscal and monetary policy for 2 reasons. As you know, monetary policy is being looked from exchange rate and the interest rate. The interest rate is being looked at trying to control the domestic affairs of inflation, etc. And the monetary policy, the exchange rate being looked at trying to make Sri Lanka competitive as and when there are pressures that come on balance of payments. Our fiscal policies are used to increase revenue, which you could see was drastically going down, and we're able to resurrect this to about 13.2%, where we're trying to increase the revenue, reduce the cost, and as a result increase the fiscal space, helping us to get into a fiscal consolidation of 3.5% of GDP by year 2020. So these are the hallmarks and benchmarks that we are trying to work towards, and we feel that we have embarked on a journey which is not easy, especially in turbulent times today. Navigating this through these turbulent times is the greatest challenge that we have. But I'm sure as accountants, and as an accountant from my end, I look forward to your cooperation with our team in Sri Lanka to ensure that we maximize and able to show that when economy is in the hands of accountant, we certainly made progress. So the reason why I have abundance of confidence in the accounting fraternity is that we basically must be able to provide, we are the doctors of the economy. And the problem that happens is, and I'm sure I always dig into Riaz and his auditing colleagues, is that the sense of professionalism need to enter into the Sri Lankan area. I can see that change over the last 1.5 years, but that was non-existent. Owing to the tyrannic type of rule that was there, even the auditors were the bended knees of the rulers. And that sense of professionalism evaporated, and now it's coming back, and I hope it is in the correct state. We are looking at public-private partnership so that we are able to obtain the sense of cleanliness or the sense of transparency that is there, and able to get the country moving to where we would like to see it. Sri Lanka aspires to become a high middle income country. It will need to adjust its development model. Growth in the last 5 years is a substantial part due to peace dividends. Going forward, economic growth will be likely to require continuous structural changes towards a greater diversification and productivity increases, and a reduction in the role of agricultural employment from a present share of third of the population. Taking cognizance of the change in development priorities, the government policy statement presented November 2015 envisioned promoting globally competitive export-led economy with the emphasis on inclusion. It identified generating 1 million job opportunities, enhancing income levels, development of rural economies, and creating a wide and strong middle class as a key policy priorities. The policy statement proposed reducing the fiscal deficit to 3.5%, as I mentioned before, is an area towards the sense of financial discipline that we intend inculcating into our system. Bringing about financial reforms in state-owned enterprises is something which we are doing systematically. You mentioned of Rajan. Dr. Rajan is spearheading 7 or 8 of the state enterprises which are gobbling up a quite a lot of money. I'll give you one example, Sri Lankan Airlines. Some of you all would have flown in. It's hospitable as soon as you get in, but our taxpayers pay for you coming here. And in year 2014, we lost 32 billion. I'm sorry, in 2013, they lost 32 billion rupees. In 2014, they lost 17 billion. And after we took office, we have managed to bring it down to 7 billion, but a sense of inefficiency still exists. And that's the reason why we have gone to expressions of interest to be brought in on the Sri Lankan Airlines. And these are some of the steps that we intend taking towards rectifying the highly politicized state-owned enterprises that are there. Petroleum, Ceylon Electricity Board, Water Board, Road Development Authority are some of the entities that need restructuring and able to ensure that financial discipline is put into those type of things. Just to mention Sri Lankan Airlines, the total negative capital that was there was 167 billion as of 2015, 31st March. But just 9 years ago, when we took the company forcefully from Emirates, we had a positive balance of 9,200 in our general reserve. So you could see how mismanagement, political cronyism has impacted on the economy, and end of the day, the taxpayers have been called upon to resurrect them from where they are. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason why we have looked at Sri Lanka from a new way. We're trying to make a new Sri Lanka out of what has been handed over to us. And I'm sure innovativeness and the ingenuity of us Sri Lankans will be helpful in order to get to that point quicker than later. But unfortunately, the turbulent times in the external field have impacted on some of them. But I'm sure India and Sri Lanka together will be able to ward off some of the problems that we do have. This role, creative with our business process optimization techniques, so we can create a risk-free enterprise model with emphasizing stimulously the focus on procurement, inventory management, logistics, and related sub-activities, while respecting the involvement of our human resource and the intellectual capacity in every dynamic and fundamental change process. In Sri Lanka, we have recently taken the initiative to set up such a performance and efficiency management unit at the Prime Ministry with the sole mandate to work closely with our major state-owned enterprises to improve performance, reduce financial and other risks, and create a governance model that will be equal to any of the international companies in these sectors. And this is the area where I see similarity between what you could offer and what we could receive from that area. So I'm sure this will help us to work together in a closer bondage. And once again, owing to the time factor that is restrictive, I wish your annual sessions all is very best. You're coming for the first time, ensure that 69th is also outside Colombo in another place, and make Sri Lanka your point instead of having the meetings in India itself. And all we could basically do is we'll create the capacity, and I'm sure your competitiveness will help us to get the best of you. and Riaz and we together will maximize what has been given to us. So together, let's make a difference and wish you all the very best in your annual session.